The title of the talk is The Buddha as Myth Maker.
Tänase loengu pealkiri on Buddha kui müüdilooja.
So myths have always been a vital part of the lives of human beings.
Müüdid on alati olnud oluline osa inimelust.
Some would insist that the only relevant stories from our past are those that can be proven to be factually or literally true.
Mõned leiavad, et ainsad olulised lood meie minevikust on need, mille tõesust saab faktidega kinnitada.
But this would be to deny ourselves immense sources of knowledge and memory, meaning and truth and inspiration.
Kuid nii jätaksime ilma paljudest teadmistest, mälestustest, tähendustest, tõdedest ja inspiratsiooniallikatest.
So how much of the story of the Buddha and his awakening is historically true and how much is myth? We don't know.
Kui suur osa Buddha ja tema virgumise loost on ajalooline tõde ja kui suur osa sellest on müüt? Me ei tea seda.
But no one can deny the power of the myth of the Buddha to stir imagination and inspire human beings over 2,500 years in many different lands and cultures.
Ent keegi ei saa eitada, et Buddha müüdil on jõudu ärgitada meie kujutlusvõime. See on 2500 aasta kestel inspireerinud paljusid inimesi paljudes maades ja kultuurides.
The Buddha presented to in this myth was himself a skilled mythmaker and storyteller.
Buddha, keda see müüt meile kirjeldab, oli ka ise oskuslik müüdilooja ja lugude jutustaja.
So one of my favorite stories told by the Buddha involves an anger-eating demon.
Ja Buddha lugudest on üheks vaadaka lemmikuks see, mis jutustab vihast toituvast teenust.
So ancient Indian and Buddhist mythology is full of other forms of beings besides human beings.
Vana India ja budistlik mitoloogia sisaldab peale inimeste veel palju teisi olemusi.
And amongst them are beings called yakas, who are nature spirits.
Nende seas on ka loodusvaimud jakad.
So yakas can be mischievous and malicious demons, or helpful beings, even followers of the Buddha that can gain insight.
Nad võivad olla ulakad ja pahatahtlikud teemonid või siis abivalmis olendid ning mõnikord saavad neist Buddha järgijad, kes saavutavad taipamise.
So in the Pali Canon, the Buddha tells a story to his followers about one particular mischievous yaka.
Pali kaanonis jutustab Buddha oma järgijatele loo ühest eriti ulakast jakast.
So at the start of the story, all of the gods of Indian mythology are assembled in a great hall.
Selle loo alguses on kõik India mitoloogia jumalad kogunenud suurde saali.
So they are waiting for Indra, the lord of the gods, to come and sit on his throne at the front of the hall.
Nad ootavad Indrat, jumalat isandat, et ta tuleks saali istuma oma troonile.
The Buddha then tells that an ugly yaka appears in the hall.
Buddha jutustab siis meile, et jumalate ette ilmub inetu jaka.
The ugly yaka sits on the throne of Indra, lord of the gods.
Inetu jaka istub troonile, mis kuulub Indrale, jumalate isandale.
And the gods are appalled by this mischievous behavior and start to grumble and complain and shout at the yaka.
Jumalatele valmistab see ulakas käitumine pahameelt. Nad torisevad ja kaebavad ja harjuvad jaka peale.
The more they grumble and complain and shout, the more the yaka changes. He becomes more and more handsome and graceful.
Aga mida rohkem nad kaebavad ja harjuvad, seda enam jaka muutub. Ta muutub üha ilusamaks ja graatsilisemaks.
So confused, some of the gods rush off to find Indra and tell him what is happening.
Jumalad satuvad segadusse ja mõned neist otsivad Indra üles ja räägivad talle juhtunust.
And Indra says to them, that must be an anger-eating yaka.
Indra lausub neile, see peab olema vihast toituv jaka.
So Indra goes into the hall to stand in front of the now handsome and graceful yaka sitting on his throne.
Indra siseneb saali ja seisab jaka ette, kes tema troonil istudes on vahepeal muutunud palju kenamaks.
He arranges his robe over one shoulder, kneels down on his right knee with his hands raised in reverential greeting.
Ta kohendab rüüd õlal, vaskub paremale põlvele ja tõstab käed tervituseks.
Then 3 times he repeats, I, dear sir, am Indra, Lord of the gods.
Ta kordab siis 3 korda. Hea härra, mina olen Indra, jumalate isand.
And as he speaks these words, the yaka becomes smaller and more ugly.
Kui ta neid sõnu lausub, muutub jaka üha pisemaks ja koledamaks.
He gets more and more ugly and smaller until suddenly he disappears completely.
Ta muutub aina koledamaks ja pisemaks ja kaob ilmaks ära.
And Indra then gives voice to these verses.
Indra ütleb siis need värsid.
I have a clear mind. I am not easily caught by anger. When anger does arise, it does not last long.
Mul on selge meel, ma ei vihastu kergesti. Kui viha kerkib, ei kesta see kaua.
When I'm angry, I don't speak harshly, and I do not praise my own virtues. I keep myself well restrained out of regard for my own good.
Kui ma olen vihane, ei kõnele ma järsult. Ma ei ülista oma voorusi. Ma valitsen ennast oma enda heaolu huvides.
So I love this story. Once you hear it, I think it's very difficult to forget.
Vaadakale meeldib see lugu väga. Kui oled seda kuulnud, on seda raske unustada.
And Indra's verses at the end of the story are very wise advice for us today.
Indra värsid loo lõpus sisaldavad kasulikke soovitusi meile ka tänapäeval.
We would do well to heed that advice, especially in this modern time where social media can suck us in and dominate our lives.
Meil tasub neid nõuandeid järgida, seda eriti praegusel ajal, mil sotsiaalmeedia võib meid kaasa kista, hakata meie elu üle valitsema.
Do not let the mind be easily drawn into a spiral of anger.
Ära luba oma meelel laskuda vihapöörisesse.
Quickly let go of any reactivity.
Loobu kähku vastumeelsusest.
Be kind and harmonious and careful with your speech.
Kõnele leebelt, kooskõla saatlevalt ja ettevaatlikult.
Do not moralize from on high.
Ära tunne moraalset üleolekut.
Restrain your mind for your own benefit as well as the benefit of others.
Valitse oma meelt nii enda kui teiste kasuks.
If only we could all be like Indra.
Kui me kõik vaid oskaksime olla rohkem Indra moodi.
So there's another story that I think all Buddhists are familiar with.
Ja nüüd jutustab Vaddhaka teise loo, millega kõik budistid ilmselt tuttavad on.
It's known as the story of the 4 sights.
See on lugu 4 vaatepinnist.
So the Buddha to be, Siddhartha Gautama, was born into a wealthy family in northern India.
Tulevane Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, sündis rikkasse perre Põhja-Indias.
And the story goes that after his birth, a prediction was made that he would either become a great ruler or a great holy man.
Peale tema sündi ennustati, et temast saab kas suur valitseja või suur pühamees.
And his father, who wished his son to become a great ruler, provided him with everything he would need. He shielded him from life outside the palace.
Ta ise tahtis, et pojast saaks suur valitseja ja ta pakkus talle kõike, mida ta vajas. Ta varjas tema eest elu, mis jäi palee seinte taha.
But despite his father's best efforts, on 4 successive trips outside the palace, the Buddha-to-be, Siddhartha, saw 4 sights: an old man, a sick man, a dead man, and a holy wanderer.
Isa pingutustest hoolimata käis Buddha ikkagi 4 korda paleest väljas ja nägi seal 4 vaatepilti. Vanamees, haige mees, surnud mees ja rändlaskeep.
Siddhartha was stunned. He realized that he also would be subject to old age, sickness and death.
Siddhartha oli vapustatud, sest ta sai aru, et ka tema jääb vanaks ja haigeks ja sureb kord.
And he wondered at the meaning of life in the face of such a reality.
Ta pidi endalt küsima, milles on elu mõte, kui tegelikkus on selline.
But he was struck by the calm demeanor of the holy wanderer.
Kuid rändlaskeebi häirimatu olek avaldas talle muljet.
So at the age of 29 years, he leaves home to seek awakening and to find meaning in life.
Seega otsustas ta 29-aastaselt kodust lahkuda, et otsida virdumist, otsida elu mõtet.
So this is how we tell the story of the 4 sights.
Sageli jutustatakse seda lugu just niiviisi.
And it's a story that dramatizes the existential reality of life and death and offers a way to find meaning in the face of that existential reality.
See on lugu, mis kõneleb elust ja surmast ja viisist, kuidas sellisest elutegelikkusest tähendust leida.
Now it's true that this story of the 4 sights is a story that appears in the Pali Canon, the earliest record of the Buddha's teachings.
On tõsi, et seda lugu 4 vaatepildist kohtab Pali kaanonis, mis on kõige varajasem Buddha õpetuste kogum.
But the story of the 4 sights, according to the text in the Pali Canon, did not happen to the Buddha Shakyamuni who lived 2,500 years ago.
Aga kui uskuda Pali kaanonit, siis lugu neist 4 vaatepildist ei juhtunud ajaloolise Buddhaga, kes elas 2,500 aastat tagasi.
When you read the Pali Canon, you discover it's a story told by the Buddha himself to his followers about a previous Buddha called Vesaki.
Kui lugeda Pali kaanonit, siis selgub, et Buddha ise jutustas seda lugu oma järgijatele ühe varasema Buddha kohta, kelle nimi on Vesaki.
The Buddha understood the power of drama.
Buddha sai aru selle loo dramaatilisest jõust.
Now, does it matter then that many of us, many Buddhists nowadays, tell the story as if it happened to the historical Buddha Shakyamuni? I don't think it does matter.
Kas selles on siis midagi halba, et paljud budistid jutustavad seda lugu nii, nagu see oleks juhtunud Buddha Shakyamuniga? Vanaka arvab, et mitte.
As long as we do not insist that the story must be literally true, it is a story or myth that teaches truths about the existential reality of life and death and the search for meaning in life.
Kuni me ei nõua, et see lugu peab olema päriselt tõsi, saab see jääda looks või müüdiks, mis õpetab tõdesid elu ja surma eksistentsiaalse tegelikkuse kohta, elu mõtte otsimise kohta.
So that's another example of the Buddha as storyteller.
Et see oli siis veel üks näide Buddhast kui lugude jutustamist.
So Buddhism is full of ritual hand gestures or mudras.
Budismis on palju rituaalseid käeasendeid ehk mudrasid.
So one of the most well-known mudras is the Bhumish Parsha mudra or the earth-touching mudra.
Ja üks kõige tuntumaid mudrasid on Bhumisparsa mudra ehk maa puudutamise mudra.
And the origin of this earth-touching mudra is a story told by the Buddha about the night of his enlightenment.
Maa puudutamise mudra päritolu kirjeldab Buddha ühes loos oma jõudumisjõust.
As he neared the realization of enlightenment, the Buddha tells us, he was attacked by the forces of a figure called Mara.
Buda jutustab meile, et kui ta lähenes irgumise saavutamisele, ründasid teda Mara väed.
Mara tried different forms of attack that symbolized the forces of hatred and desire. After the Buddha defeated these attacks, Mara tried a more subtle line of attack.
Mara katsus teda rünnata erinevaid viisidel, mis sümboliseerisid vihkamise ja ihade jõude. Kui Buda oli need rünnakud tagasi löönud, katsetas Mara peenemat taktikat.
According to traditional myth, it is said that every person who gains enlightenment when sitting on the diamond throne, the Vajrasana. But you must earn the right to sit on the diamond throne.
Traditsioonilise müüdi kohaselt on nii, et irgumine saavutatakse teemanttroonil ehk Vajrasanal istudes, aga sa pead välja teenima õiguse istuda seal teemanttroonil.
And Mara challenged the Buddha's right to sit on the diamond throne. Mara asked, "You say you have the right to sit on that throne, but where is the evidence of that right? Who can confirm your right to sit on the diamond throne?"
Mara küsis Budalt, et mis õigus on tal teemanttroonil istuda. Ta küsis, sa ütled, et sul on õigus seal istuda, aga kuidas sa seda tõendad? Kes saab su õigust kinnitada?
In reply, the Buddha extended his right arm and touched the earth with his tips of his fingers, the earth touching mudra.
Ja vastusena puudutas Buda maad parema käesõrmeotstega, maa puudutamise mudra.
And as the Buddha touched the earth goddess rose up out of the ground and testified that the Buddha was indeed entitled to sit on the diamond throne by virtue of his own great effort.
Selle peale tuli maapinnast välja maaema ja tunnistas, et Budal on õigus teemanttroonil istuda, kuna ta on nii palju pingutanud.
She testified that through many lifetimes the Buddha had developed to perfection qualities of generosity, patience, energy, kindness and awareness.
Maaema tunnistas, et Buda on paljude elude vältel täiuseni arendanud helduse, kannatlikkuse, energia, headuse ja teadlikkuse vooruse.
And with this testimony, Mara recognized he was defeated and fled.
Selle peale mõistis Mara, et ta on kaotajaks jäänud ja lasi jalga.
So what to make of this story?
Mida sellest loost arvata?
So here is my personal response.
Vaadake arvad nii.
When we sit to meditate, when we touch the ground beneath us, we touch deep time.
Kui me istume mediteerides ja puudutame maapinda enda all, puudutame sügavat aega.
We touch the evolutionary source of humanity, going back to the origin of the planet, of the solar system, and of the universe. We can imagine that we are the universe becoming conscious of itself.
Puudutame inimkonna evolutsioonilist algupära, planeedi, päikesesüsteemi ja universumi enda algust. Võime ette kujutada, et meie oleme universum, mis endast teadlikuks saab.
But when we touch the land and we touch the earth, we are also in touch with the spirits that carry ancient memory and wisdom and culture of that particular place.
Kui me puudutame maad, oleme ühenduses vaimudega, kes kannavad endas selle paiga muistseid mälestusi, tarkust ja kultuuri.
As Buddhism traveled to different lands, it was changed by the spirit and the myths of those lands, taking on different forms and rituals.
kui budism rändas uutesse maadesse, siis nende maade vaim ja nende müüdid muutsid budismi ja see sai uusi vorme ja rituaale.
And if Buddhism is to survive as it moves to different lands, it must find a way to be in communion with the particular spirits and myths of those lands. It must touch the land on which it seeks to live.
kui budism tahab uutel maadel ellu jääda, peab see leidma viisi, kuidas saada ühendust nende maade vaimude ja müütidega. See peab puudutama maad, millel tahab elada.
So to finish, here is another more light-hearted story, if you like. It's a story about an occasion when the Buddha got it wrong.
Lõpetuseks üks lõbusam lugu. See lugu räägib ühest korrast, kui Buddha eksis.
The Buddha underestimated the importance of social ritual.
Ta alahindas sotsiaalsete rituaalide olulisust.
So one day when the Buddha was teaching, he sneezed.
Ühel päeval andis Buddha õpetusi ja aevastas.
And some of the monks shouted out, "Jivatu Bhante, Jivatu Bhante."
Ja mõned mungad hüüdsid Jivatu Bhante, Jivatu Bhante.
So this literally means live teacher, but in social terms we would loosely interpret it as be well teacher, be well.
Selle otse tähendus on ela õpetaja, kuid õigem oleks seda tõlgendada kui terviseks õpetaja või ela hästi õpetaja.
The Buddha did not like the interruption.
Buddhale ei meeldinud, et teda katkestati.
So the Buddha pointed out to the monks that shouting Jivatu to someone who has sneezed would make no difference to whether they live or die. He said, it is a superstition.
Ta ütles munkadele, et Jivatu ütlemine inimesele, kes aevastab, ei mõjuta tema tervist. Ta ütles, et see on ebausk.
So the Buddha forbids monks from saying Jivatu whenever someone sneezes.
Buddha keelas munkadele öelda Jivatu iga kord, kui keegi aevastab.
But the Buddha underestimated the power of social ritual, even if it was, in his terms, superstitious.
Aga Buddha alahindas sotsiaalse rituaali jõudu, isegi kui see oli ebausust kantud.
So there was this social convention that when someone sneezed, other people would say, Jivatu, live.
Sest sealkandis valitses komme, et kui keegi aevastab, siis talle öeldakse Jivatu, ela.
And the person who sneezed would respond with Chirang Jiva, which means live long.
Ja aevastaja vastab Chirang Jiva ehk pikka iga.
So, some of the monks are out on their arms round, looking for food, and they would sneeze from time to time. And the householders, of course, continued shouting out, Jivatu, live.
Kui mungad käisid almuste ringil, siis nad vahel aevastasid ja külaelanikud ütlesid neile Jivatu.
But following the Buddha's admonition, the monks did not respond with Chirang Jiva, live long. And the villagers were very upset about this.
Aga mungad ei vastanud Chirang Jiva ehk pikka iga, sest Buddha oli selle ära keelanud ja külarahvas sai nüüd pahaseks.
So the monks reported to the Buddha that the locals were angry with them for being rude.
Mungad rääkisid Buddhale, et inimesed peavad neid nüüd ebaviisakaks ja pahandavad.
So the Buddha, being very human, realized he'd made a mistake, gave way and allowed the monks thereafter to respond with Chirang Jiva, live long.
Ja Buddha andis järele ja lubas munkadel edaspidi öelda Chirang Jiva ehk pikka iga.
So this story, which comes from the Pali Vinaya, was told to me by another member of the Triratna Buddhist order called Jayarava. And Jayarava and I have something in common.
See lugu on pärit Pali Vinayast ja seda rääkis Vaadakale Sigatna vennaskonna liige Jayarava ja neil on Jayaravaga midagi olulist ühist.
Of course, we have the myth of the Buddha and his awakening in common.
Muidugi ühendab neid kui budiste see müüt Budast ja tema virgumisest.
But there is another myth that inhabits our minds and that we have in common.
Aga on teisigi müüte, mis neil mõlemal meeles mõlguvad.
And there are some people here today, secretly, who have that myth in common.
Ja siin meie seas on teisigi, kellel salaja see müüt on vaadataga ühine.
So the myth that we have in common is the myth of Star Trek.
Ja selleks ühiseks müüdiks on Star Trek.
So when I read this phrase, Chirang Jiva, meaning live long, I immediately thought of another ritual greeting.
Kui ta loeb fraasi Chirang Jiva ehk pikka iga, tuleb talle kohe meelde üks teine rituaalne soovitus.
I thought of Star Trek and the Vulcan greeting of live long and prosper, which comes incidentally with its own hand mudra.
Star Treki telesarja Vulkani rahval on tervitus pikka iga ja edu ja ka sellel on oma käemudel.
So Jayarava is a Pali specialist, and I wrote and asked him what would be the Pali words for live long and prosper.
Jayarava on paali keele spetsialist, seega vaadake kirjutust talle ja küsis, kuidas on paali keeles pikka iga ja edu.
And I was delighted to discover that the same thought had already occurred to him.
Ja ta avastas oma heameeleks, et Jayarava on sellele juba varem mõelnud.
He translated the Vulcan greeting into Pali as Chirang Jiva Sampajacha.
Ta tõlkis selle Vulkani tervituse paali keelde kui Chirang Jiva Sampajacha.
So to end this talk, I'm going to give you a ritual greeting.
Nii et tänase loengu lõpetuseks vaadake tervitab teid rituaalselt.
Live long and prosper. Pika iga ya edu. Chirang Jiva Sampajacha. Thank you.